Hello, fellow humans. Chris here again. So, today I just wanted to talk briefly about a story that came up earlier in the week. In fact, odds are likely that you're aware of this story. It was kind of shared around. Brian Tyler Cohen talked about it, and I saw a lot about it on Twitter. Basically, a school in South Dakota participated in some sort of rally to raise money for school funding, school supplies, classroom supplies, things like that. And there's this group of teachers, and they're basically in a mad scramble on the ground, trying to pick up $1 bills. I guess there was like $5,000 there for them for their classes, and it's taking a lot of heat from people who are not appreciative of making a spectacle of this kind of thing, and it's rooted in the distaste for the fact that teachers have to do stuff like this in order to get funding for their class, which should be a given. They shouldn't be having to scramble for it. And what oftentimes ends up happening is teachers ask the students' parents for help. It's happened with us. We've given snacks and supplies to our kids' teachers many times. We did a conference with my son's teacher, and she mentioned that she's trying to get a working clock so her students can actually practice learning how to tell time. It's things like that. That's unacceptable, and I get it. I totally get having anger towards that. I personally think, based on what I've come to understand about this particular story, I think that anger might be a little bit misdirected in this particular case. Should teachers have to be scrambling, literally on their knees on the ground, for money to fund their classes? Of course not. However, there's an ideal that we have, and then there's a reality. The ideal would be that teachers get all the funding they need, so they don't have to fundraise with parents. But the reality is that is what happens, and it's not acceptable. But as far as I understand it, these teachers sold raffle tickets to this event, which the money generated from that was also put back into the school for school supplies. And this was at a minor league sports event where money was raised for this to happen, for these teachers to go and do what they did. So while I agree that making a spectacle of this really isn't appropriate in a vacuum, it had a positive outcome, and maybe more importantly, it is making people have this conversation. People are angry about it, and they're voicing those angry thoughts, and it is leading people like myself to kind of broach the topic and talk about it, and I think that's a good thing. I would just say, for me, I mean, there's always, writing your local councilman or councilwoman, or your assembly person, or your senator, or your representative, or just the school district themselves, and voicing your discontent with the way money is allocated. You can totally do that. But if you are also looking for ways to help at the ground level, as it were, obviously providing snacks and school supplies to your kids' teachers is not the way it should be, but you can do that if you have the ability. A nice way to kind of compromise this, in the sense, and maybe kind of implementing Rule 303, if you have the means, you have the responsibility to act. My school district is now providing meals for free, breakfast and lunch, for all students, regardless of income at home. And I think this is great for one of many reasons, being that students that were on a WIC or food stamp program already are no longer singled out for doing that. And I think that something to maybe consider if you are in a situation where you could afford to pay for your kids' meals, like used to be the case. You could take that money that you would be spending on the free breakfasts and lunches that your kids get, save it up, and then use that money on the side to provide supplies to your students' classrooms. And obviously, that is not the ideal way to do it, but at least you are taking the funding that is being provided in the way of free meals for your kids that maybe you can afford to pay for, and redirecting it for the good of the community of students at your school. For us, we did that. We were able to save up some money, and we bought our son's teacher a wall clock. So, again, it's not the ideal way that it should be done, but I think that if this event can help stir this conversation a little bit, then maybe we can use it as motivation for us that have the means to kind of take some responsibility in helping to take care of our teachers and students. Anyway, I know it's not a permanent solution, but it's just something I was thinking about. I try to take the negative stories and spin them into a positive outcome or a positive turnaround. So, something to think about. Anyway, I will catch up with you all again very soon. Have a great rest of your day. Remember, don't be afraid to question the consensus.